Okay, so this video is going to be about burnout. I follow a foster mom on Instagram, and it was like a week ago, she posted a video on her Instagram stories, and it broke my heart. It was basically, she was crying, and it was basically a confession that she was taking a break from foster care, that she was burnt out. And it broke my heart that she was carrying all of these kids. We can't say yes to all of them, and sometimes that's really heavy on these foster families, and there's such a small percentage of people that are carrying a very big load. The foster care system is broken, it's a mess, and there are way too many kids, and there are not near enough families doing foster care or people doing foster care. So I just watched this mama, and she was heartbroken and heartsick that she has to take a break, but she's burnt out, she's tired, and they had just adopted a little girl, a little baby, and they just wanted to take some time to really pour into her. So I think that kind of spurred me on to do this video about burnout and sort of some ways that we use to try and prevent it, because it's a real thing, and it's something that taking a break doesn't always mean you're burnt out. It just also could mean that you are close and you are stopping before you get to that point. I think that it's so important to know your limits. I also think that it's important to push ourselves. We are so quick to quit, I think. At least I am. In our culture nowadays, we're so quick to quit something that's hard. And so I definitely want to encourage people out there, or it's something that I tell myself, am I just being selfish in my desire to quit? And usually it's a yes. And then there are other times when you have poured out so much and it's time to just take a break. I mean, even Jesus took a break sometimes when he was, I was going to try to look it up before I started this video and I forgot to, when he got on the boat and went to go across the lake. Anyway, and then there's the whole Sabbath thing. It's okay to take a break. It's okay. God knows you get tired. So I guess this is about how my husband and I have tried to avoid burnout by using our resources around us. And one of those things is respite. When we first found out that we had a placement coming to stay with us, it was a few weeks after we got licensed. We got a call about our placement. And within that same week, I had found out that I was pregnant with baby number 3. So it was a big week for us. And so in that moment, my husband and I, we knew. Our licensing agency called us up. They asked if we were sure we wanted to move forward with doing foster care at this time, if we wanted to put it on hold for a little while. And they were very understanding about it. But my husband and I, we didn't even need to pray about it. We just knew God called us to do this. He's made this very clear that this is where we're supposed to be. I can't think of any time in the Bible where God called somebody to something and then said, oh, never mind. Oh, it looks like it's going to get really hard, so never mind. He never did that. It was always harder. It always got hard when he called somebody to something. It was always hard. So when I got pregnant at the same time, the same week that we met our little guy, we just knew hard was not a reason to step away from a calling. It was not a reason to put it off. So we moved forward in faith and just knowing that God was going to supply supernatural strength and patience and all those things. I get very sick when I'm pregnant, and sure enough, I got very sick when I was pregnant. So we had our placement, we had our 2 biological kids who were 3 and 1. And I was pregnant. So it was just a crazy time. But I can honestly say through my whole pregnancy, I did not feel overwhelmed by foster care or having a placement in our home. I didn't. It wasn't until I had the baby and hormones go crazy and you're sleep deprived and you're emotional. It's nuts. It's a nutty time those few months after having a baby, and I just needed a break. I went for as long as I could. I think it was a month after I had the baby, and I was at a breaking point. And I'm going to be really honest here, and hopefully nobody judges, but I was getting to the point where I was having very little patience with our placement, with our little guy living with us, annoyed that he was there. And so please don't judge me. That's just the honest truth. And I knew I was at a place where I needed a break, or I needed help. I needed something because it wasn't fair to him. It was just, I needed a break. And so we used respite, and he went to stay with a family for a few nights so I could just have it be the 5 of us. That may be the difference between doing foster care or adopting. He's not ours. He's not going to be ours. We don't feel like he's supposed to be ours. Or it could just be me and a flaw that's in me. Some families, they don't send their kids to respite because it's like sending their own biological kids to a stranger. And I understand that, and I wish that was how I felt, but I just needed a break. And so we used respite. And I don't remember what we told him. We didn't tell him that we were sending him away because they needed a break. I don't remember what we told him, and we didn't lie to him. We won't lie to our kids, but I can't remember what we did tell him. So he went away for a few nights, and I just needed that time, just the 5 of us after having our baby. And then he came back, and we moved forward, and we moved on, and we continued to pour into him, and we continued to love him, and he's part of our family as much as he can be or will be or chooses to be. And so another one is Boys and Girls Club. I use Boys and Girls Club here in Arizona anyway. They do scholarships for foster kids, so it's free for him to go. So he goes after school, even though I'm a stay-at-home mom. He goes after school. He does his homework there, and he either comes home when I pick him up after my other kids get up from their nap, or my husband picks him up on the way home from school. So he lives just like other kids who both parents work in the home. They have to wait till both parents get off work or till a parent gets off work. Well, our little guy lives that same way, even though I am actually home. So there's been times where I have felt guilty about that. The licensing worker will ask us why he's in after school care. Our case manager has asked me why he's in after school care. They don't make me feel guilty about it. They're just asking. They want to know where we're at, where he's at, why. But that guilt is heavy, and I feel it when they ask that question. And so I just will say, though, it's how I survive. It's how I keep from burning out, because with 3 very small kids in the home that need me for everything, they can't reach the milk, they can't wipe their own bed, they're still in diapers, they need me for 100% of their life. And when our little guy comes home from school, he's got homework, 3rd grade homework is too hard for me. So plus they do Common Core, so I can't even teach him how to do division because it's not even the same way that I learned division. So Boys and Girls Club saves me, and it keeps me from burning out. And that's how I justify it, or however you want to call it, depending on where you're coming from. If you're judging me, then that's how I justify it. But if you're understanding me, then that's how I keep from quitting. That's how I keep from sending this little boy to a group home or sending him away. He is such a good kid, you guys, but it's hard. It's one more kid with their own set of needs, and so it's just a lot sometimes. And sometimes I want to quit. A lot of times I want to quit, but I don't want to quit. So I'm going to use the resources that I can, and despite that guilt that creeps in all of the time, I'm going to continue to use the resources so that I can survive and we can stay healthy for him, for our kids, for our marriage. So I guess that's it. That just use the resources and don't feel guilty about it. We're all doing a big thing here, and it's heavy. It's really heavy. And so it's okay to use those things.